Welcome back to the Digital Imaging channel. I'm Will, and today we're covering part 3 of our 3-part series on Aperture card scanning costs. If you haven't seen part 1 or part 2 yet, an Aperture card is basically a 3x7-ish piece of cardstock with a little window or an aperture from your view on the right side of it that holds a piece of microfilm. Typically a 35mm aperture, which then holds a strip of microfilm, usually like an engineering drawing image or maybe multiple 16mm images. That's what we're going over and what goes into those costs. We've already covered factors 1 through 6 in the first 2 parts of the series. Factor 1 will be the number of cards or the quantity. Factor 2 is the type of card. Factor 3 is the resolution. And then in part 2, we covered 4 through 6, which are indexing, subcontractors, and the schedule that you have for your project. Today we're covering factors 7 to 9 to wrap up the series. So starting with factor 7 is capacity, and that's basically, we talked about scheduling as factor number 6 in the previous video. Capacity is sort of a flip of that, where schedule is based on what schedule do you want for your project. Capacity is what can we handle based on the scope of the project. The factors that go into capacity are 1, how busy are we? How many projects are we already running? What are the timelines for those projects and those commitments? And then tie that into what's your schedule for the project. Can we fit it within our capacity? If you have, let's say 300,000 Aperture cards for a project, and we say, yeah, based on what we have right now, your price is X for a 4 to 5 month project once we get the milestone approved. Let's say that's the standard, and you say, well, you know what? That sounds great, BMI. It's 4 to 5 months. I want this done in 3 months. From the day I proof of concept, 3 months, done. We gotta get this project wrapped up. We'll take that and say, okay, we can do that, but we may have to shift around internal commitments. We have to talk to some of our existing clients that we already have their projects in-house, say, hey, can we extend your project a little bit? Or maybe we move a few things around, maybe get some more resources in order to complete your project in that timeline. That's affecting our capacity, and that can potentially affect the price you pay for your project to make sure that timeline fits in our schedule too. Factor number 8 is OCR. OCR stands for optical character recognition. Basically, it means you get your digital image and you can search the text on it. It's text searchable. OCR can be something that increases the price sometimes. Depending on the project, it may be something that we're already discussing of wrapping into the project, but it can be something that the price changes based on the specifics of your project. But what I will say is for Aperture cards, a lot of times you probably won't want OCR or necessarily need it, because every unit is gonna be that single card. You're gonna have, again, let's go back to 300,000 Aperture card project, you're gonna have 300,000 individually indexed units because we're scanning that individual card. It's not like a roll of film where you have 2,500 images theoretically on one roll, and then, well, what do I do with it? Do I index each image? Do I just do it by the roll? This is a card where that one unit is being scanned and we're capturing the information that we talked about in indexing, let's say from the title block. So you're gonna find a record by just searching for it, knowing where to go, and then boom, you're at that image, you have that digital file. Do you really need to search the image that you're already at? Probably not. A case where it may make sense to do OCR with Aperture cards is if you have 16mm Aperture cards where you do have multiple images on each card, and then you're gonna have a multi-page, maybe 3 to 5 page file. So you find the file by that indexing, but then you do want to search those 5 pages instead of having to look at each one. That is still probably not necessary because there aren't that many images to search once you find the file, but it is a possibility. And OCR, again, can increase your cost if you want to add it to your project. And lastly, number 9 is output. And that basically means we've scanned the material, indexed it, done all the processing, and then how do you receive it? And the standard methods are exporting to a USB drive and getting that sent to you. Another method is using an FTP or file transfer protocol, basically electronic delivery site. So we set up a program, we set up a site where you can log into it, we load the files to it, and then you pull the files down, just get those on the back end at your side. Those are typically when we're doing what we call a traditional project, traditional scanning, which is like PDFs, TIFFs, JPEGs, or something of that sort. What you may also get is our digital reel application, which is a little different than a traditional, but we have a secure website where we would load the files to that website, and then you'd actually use that portal to locate, access, download, adjust, whatever you're doing with your files. You just use our digital reel portal to get to those files. So depending on the final output, the delivery method that you choose, there could be differences in price. That wraps up part 3 of the 3-part series. We have capacity, OCR, and then final delivery or output. And Not only does it wrap up this part of the series, but it wraps up the series as a whole. So now you have all 9 factors that should give you a general idea of not necessarily here's your exact price, but okay, if I'm doing X, then Y may happen. Or if I'm doing C, then D may happen. You'll know if you're basically going up or down from a baseline. If it's gonna be a more expensive project, I'm gonna do really complex indexing, I want OCR, I want a really short timeline, you know that that's gonna start tipping up on the scale. Just it gives you a general idea of where your project may go. But the best way to get a price is to reach out to us, give us some specifics of your project, then we can figure out the details and give you some ideas of where your project may head. So again, I'm Will. This is the Digital Imaging Channel. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next time.